use something like a Morgan Freeman voice and then try to summarize. Like there is enough AI out there to make voiceovers of sorts and also like absorb information from a rule book and then summarize it in a simple term and then do
That's
the
an
whole.
interesting idea. Welcome, everybody, to Two Asians, One Board.
Welcome, welcome. It's been a minute again. I feel like every episode nowadays, it's like we're going to start off by saying, hello, it's not been only 2 weeks, but more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, life's been busy recently. You guys are moving back very soon.
Yeah.
Baby schedules, really
Baby
difficult.
schedules. Yeah, and also it's biking season, so your hobby is picking up as
That's
well.
right. Yeah, my Thursdays are now spent outside instead of inside. But we'll keep it ticking over.
Yeah.
And it will definitely be easier once we're back in the same city because we could just whip out a cast, after playing a game or something.
That's right. Yeah.
Pretty easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think this year passed by quite quickly. Like especially like with like also thinking about the casts that we did throughout the year and like the whole initial confusion of like whether or not this virtual setting would work or not, and it worked out fine.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I always tell people when they're like, you're in a situation where you might go away somewhere weird for a year is nothing. Like, it really flies by.
Yeah, it flies by. It's a snap of a finger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Single dance season for your daughter. So
Exactly. And before I know it, I'll be into the next season. So
yeah,
enjoy our time out of dance jail for now.
yeah.
So it's annoying. So now that she doesn't have dance, my daughter has discovered audiobooks.
Ooh.
And so she basically, whenever she's home, is constantly wearing headphones, listening to some audiobook or other, sometimes for the third or fourth time.
Oh, interesting.
And she sits at her desk, drawing and like painting or coloring with these oil markers that we got her, these kind of dioramas of characters from her books, from video games and stuff like that. And she spends all night doing it, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'd rather that than on TV or a device or something.
Yeah.
But she's had little or no interest. I really have to cajole her to like play a game, to pull her away from this artistic endeavor.
Oh, wow. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like you're complaining about like a genius artist in making.
And I feel bad, so I don't force her. Like if she's busy, I don't force her to come play a game with your old dad when you're busy doing something. But yeah, it's been it's been a recent change in her what she's been into.
Yeah, no audiobook. I wonder because she is a very adamant and like she's a reader. Like she reads a lot of books, but I feel like some people like don't really get into audiobooks at all, because they prefer to like have the like I guess the paper or like just having a book in the hand and like reading like themselves. Feel like some people say that it feels faster for them, but I mean I'm a really slow reader, so audiobooks is like my best friend because it allows me to read a little faster slash more consistently. Whereas like if I'm reading a book myself with paper in my hand, like I'm just so slow that I get frustrated at myself for how slow I am at reading, and then I just read like 3 pages, and then I'm like, that was a day, that was enough for today.
Yeah. I think for her, it lets her multitask because she can audiobook and still do something else.
Right.
Because she's constantly wanting to do stuff. So,
Yeah.
whereas if she has to sit there with a book or a kobo, like she has to sit there with the book or the kobo, like she can't do anything else. So,
Right. Yeah.
I guess if she's listening to it for like the third or fourth time, she's not really going to pay too much attention.
Yeah, that's true. It's just kind of like watching the Office or like any TV show for the third time, and it's just the friends kind of like playing in the background.
Yeah.
While you're cooking something.
Yeah. So, today's topic, we're going to talk about inserts. And the reason this came up in my mind as something that'll be interesting to talk about is because I've been toying for the past number of months with the idea of buying a insert for Arc Nova.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we'll talk about it later, this whole mental dilemma. I've literally had it in my cart a number of times and then not pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And so that's where today's topic inspiration comes from.
Yes, that is something fun to talk about. I mean, you have some inserts. I have some, like, I have a insert from Ukraine that I got like a year ago. Um, but definitely something fun to talk about. Yeah.
So the other thing that happened, it must have been about a month ago now, is BG Stats. So this is
Mhm.
the app that I use to track plays and
Yeah.
statistics that
Mhm.
is linked to BGG. Um, got updated, and now what they allow you to do is put in previous plays of games that you
Mhm.
played before you started keeping track.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, that's a cool thing. So I went through and, I don't remember exactly how many
Yeah.
previous plays of some games I played, but I put a conservative estimate on some games.
Yeah.
And then I got to games like Magic the Gathering.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh my God, like what number should I put here? Because when I was in high school, I must have played like 20
Like,
games a day
yeah, yeah, yeah.
instead of
So
going to class.
hundreds in total.
Exactly. And then I played a bunch of games with Shar. I played a bunch of games with my friend Phil when he kind of forced me to buy some cards again. I'm like, I could literally put like 1,000 in this category, and then that would skew like all my
Yeah,
stats, right?
yeah. That
So I'm
would.
like, okay, I got to cut Magic the Gathering out of these stats. And I was
Yeah.
like, then there's Netrunner. It's like,
Mhm.
well, I played a ton of Netrunner when it first came out.
Yeah.
And then maybe played 4 or 5 games with Shar when we picked
Mhm.
it up again. So
Mhm.
I just put like 4 or 5. Otherwise,
Mhm.
again, it would skew the
It would be like
stats.
hundreds over there. Like, I mean, I feel like, yeah, it would basically become like it would be bloated data with
Yeah.
like things that are not the most relevant today.
It doesn't really add
Yeah.
anything to what we're tracking right now. So
Yeah.
then the thing came up with legacy games.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
I played
Hundreds.
Gloomhaven with my friends for
Yeah.
like a year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So I cut that kind of out to one play because it's the campaign.
Yeah. One big campaign that
One campaign. Or so we played through all the pandemic legacies, for example. Each one of those is like 10 plus games. So I
yeah.
just cut those down to one play of the whole campaign. So otherwise, again, those become my like most played games of all time,
Yeah.
which is kind of true, but kind of not true. It's like
I
an
mean, yeah,
interesting.
legacy, yeah, like campaigns are just a whole different experience, right? Like it's different from
Yeah.
the same game that you go back to over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, speaking of campaigns, I am very interested in like that new game that Jamie Stegmaier, the
Hmm.
Stonemaier games,
Yeah.
coming out with really soon. Um,
Like I think in the next like couple of weeks, I think.
yeah, yeah, and
So this is called Vantage, which
Vantage, yeah,
is from Stonemaier, but it's actually a game designed by Jamie. He's
yeah.
apparently been working on it for the last 8, 9 years.
Hmm. And there was a bit of a scare with like the whole uh
Yeah.
tariff situation that like it may or may not be able to like fulfill the way that he was hoping it for
Yeah.
be fulfilled. But it seems like I guess things tariffs have calmed down enough for it to have
I think
and
it's calmed down enough where he can maybe absorb most of it
some of
now
the
because
yeah some
Stonemaier is a pretty big company.
yeah. But yeah, no. I just saw the post of like how like some of the play like the materials, the gameplay, and the things that and like he also published the entire rule book
Yep.
just yesterday, I believe. I haven't read it yet. I'm a slow reader.
As we just said, the audiobook version of the
Yeah,
rule
if
book.
there's an audiobook version of it, let me know. But
Hey, there's a niche reel. Maybe we should start recording audiobooks of game rule
oh,
books.
game rule books, that is a niche that I don't think exists yet, and like make a Spotify account of just
Yeah.
reading out audio, like reading out rule
Yeah.
books of and then chaptering it out by the different chapters and then
That's
do a
quite a
summary,
funny.
do a personal summary of it in the beginning. Like this is like, just to simplify whatever is going to be said, and then I'm going to read the entire thing type of thing. Oh,
Yeah. That's actually
that's
man,
oh
maybe we shouldn't have published this in the public
yeah. This is
sphere.
oh man. Okay, this is copyright pending.
Yes. Well, if somebody else does it, they stole our idea because this
Yeah,
is
exactly.
published.
Yeah, they should they should
That's
do
actually a really interesting idea to do like use it as a teaching, but
yeah.
also literally just audio version of the rulebook.
Yeah, I don't think I mean at the same time would companies like Soulmeyer Games like come after
Who
or
knows?
would they
Well, I
come
mean,
after?
you'd have to get their permission, I
Right.
think. Like
Yeah,
you make it an official audiobook version of the rulebook
yeah, book
for
version
the,
of it.
you
Yeah, because
know,
I don't think it is a thing at this. Well, I have never
I don't
seen.
think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, no.
Hmm. Okay. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant idea. Just gonna take
Yeah.
so much time.
It's gonna just take a lot of hours of getting it right.
Oh man.
So I honestly don't mind if someone else takes the idea and runs with it.
I don't know if we have good voices for that. Like you need Morgan Freeman or like, you
I
know,
wonder. I mean, the lazy way of going about this is basically using AI to use something like a Morgan Freeman voice and and then try to summarize. Like there is enough AI out there to make voiceovers of sorts and also like absorb information from a rulebook and then summarize it in a simple term and then do
that's
the
an
whole
interesting idea. That's a,
anyhow.
yeah. We'll put this on the back burner when we got time, but that's
Yeah.
an interesting idea. So anyway, yeah. So this game Vantage looks
Yeah.
like what really reminds me of like Seventh Continent,
Mm.
where
Yeah.
it's just open world, like
Yeah.
exploration, and it
And I
seems like it's fairly open.
Yeah, it's a lot of like also like Sleeping Gods is what I think of a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit as well as like Earthborn Rangers like that I've been eyeing like a game that I've been eyeing for over a year
We
years.
can't get it. You can't get it.
It's nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
I think you just need to back it in one of the like they're ongoing they're always like looking for backers for the next year's like I guess like round of copies, but it just feels yeah, I wish I would.
Silly. Actually, Rio, this might interest you.
Mhm.
There is a copy of it
Oh,
at Imaginaire at the Rito Center,
no
and it's
way.
reduced because it's French.
Oh man, no.
Now, I haven't been to Imaginaire for a while, so it might not still be there, but it was there for many months, and it was cheaper because it was French version.
Which I understand because even though I'm conversational at French, I'm an even worse reader in French than I am in English. And something like Earthborn Rangers is a very wordy,
Yeah,
very rule book is like thick. And there are stories that you follow, and there are hundreds of cards that you like
yeah,
each have different things that's like different things that it would do, and like all of that is
yeah.
words. So
But it's there if you want it. It's probably still there.
okay. I'll um I'll think about it.
Actually, probably if I never Google searched for alternative language versions of these games, but if there are, they're probably much more widely available.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let's see if there's a Japanese version and we'll go from there.
maybe.
Japanese and English. I think those are the two languages that I would be comfortable like just jumping into like if I were to buy a game, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But then
So,
the
are you going to buy Vantage?
I think so. I think it is like a type of game that I haven't really delved into yet, that I would be very interested in like exploring. And like it's basically it feels like I mean I have wanted to get Earthborn Ranger it was if it was available, but it's not, and I believe the Vantage will be. Um, so
These
yeah.
are always games that flow pretty well solo too, I think.
Yeah, I hear like the solo game is basically about an hour from what one of the comments that I
Yeah.
threat that Jamie responded to.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a very reasonable time to play a
Yeah.
solo game, and like if it's all about exploration, so like solo, it just works better solo as well, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you
Yeah.
get it, I'm not gonna get it. I was never super into games like Seventh Continent, which just like and Seventh Continent had definitely other problems with it. So
Mhm.
it's not really up my bailiwick, but
Okay.
I'd play with you for sure if you had
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
Um,
and then you'll love it, and you'll be like, oh, I need to get my own copy.
yeah. And
Maybe.
like when we're talking about games that Jamie himself has designed,
Yeah,
like they're usually good, like Scythe
yeah,
and Viticulture, like those are
yeah,
classic great games.
yeah.
So
No,
um,
for sure.
yeah. So I got an email from 401 Games
Yeah.
that this pre-order that I put in for Stressed Biotics, which is this like super heavy kind of robot in space kind of themed game, was not going to be fulfilled.
Oh no.
Um, and there was no real explanation why, and I haven't been able to find anything online as to why this has happened.
Hmm.
But obviously, other people who pre-ordered the game are getting similar emails.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that was kind of annoying. I didn't try and find it somewhere else because I'm like, it's like a super heavy game. Maybe it was more of an impulse pre-order,
Yeah.
but I got store
So,
credit.
okay, I'll store credit. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I was wondering how they would refund, but I guess
Well,
if
they
it's
could have just refunded it or store credit, but I'm like, 401 Games, might as well give me
yeah,
store credit.
yeah. You're like, I need a reason to buy more games.
And I literally spent it right away pre-ordering a game called Saltfjord,
Oh.
which I've been looking at for a long time, kind of Euro game. It's like a redo of an older game called Santa Maria.
Yeah.
It's really good reviews and looks great, but it's from Aporta Games, which is European, I think. And so it never made its way to North America yet, except for previews and stuff. So I just spent most of the credit
Yeah.
pre-ordering that.
Okay. Okay. So
um,
kind of sideways.
yeah. Have you seen the social media on this game, Excalibur from Roxley Games?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah, like briefly, but didn't look in detail for it.
So this is a current Kickstarter. I think it's all just about done.
Mm.
And I backed it
Oh.
based purely. I backed the whatever the collector's edition or whatever,
Mhm.
based purely on like looks alone.
You backed it based purely on looks.
It's like got metal swords.
Oh, this is metal,
It's
eh? I
it's
thought it
got
was.
yeah, like chunky metal swords.
It
Like
looks like from like the Zelda game, like the sword from
yeah,
Zelda, basically.
the box has like stained glass area. Obviously, it's not glass, but
Yeah,
like
like the yeah
it's very
design is
beautiful.
language is very and like it also all the there's indentation and everything.
Yeah. Now,
Wow.
the game itself, they had a really good video where they got a bunch of gaming YouTubers into
Mhm.
a castle, addressed
Mhm.
like knights and maidens, and played a game of it. It's just a simple game of where you have these tokens and they
Mhm.
do special things, and you want to be the person who ends up at the end of the game with Excalibur token.
Mm.
And so it's just like a light, fun game, whatever. But this game looks so good that even if you never played it, it would look amazing on the shelf.
Yeah, just putting it there. Yeah.
So that was an impulse back. So I backed that.
I mean, and it's Roxley, so I don't think there's not
Yeah.
much of a worry of it
Yeah.
not being created.
So they published a timeline for projects in the works, and
Hmm.
there's a number of projects that have no name yet, and then and then there's
I
Brass
don't know,
Three is
Brass 3. Yeah,
definitely under development. It says that's just
yeah,
current timeline,
yeah,
so that's exciting. Um, and I finally received my copy of Galileo Galilei,
yeah.
which
You
was
haven't played it yet, eh?
not yet, no, because my daughter's been busy.
Audiobooks.
Yeah, so it's kind of a Euro game designed by Thomas Hudak. He's the guy who actually designed SETI. Yeah, he actually designed these two games at the same time, which is crazy.
Mhm.
But this one is from Capstone, not from CGE.
Mhm.
And yeah, it looks really interesting, kind of astronomy themed, where you're trying to use a telescope to choose your actions, and then you do various Eurogamey stuff to discover constellations and other astronomical bodies, and
Yep.
then you earn yourself points in various ways. But if you discover too much, the church interrogates you, the Inquisition, and you lose points because back then, if you did these kinds of things, the church was like, no, 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 no. So
Not today. Yeah.
yeah, so still got to get that to the table, but interesting game.
Mm. Yeah, I saw the copy when I visited over the last weekend. I saw that copy
Yeah,
sitting right there.
yeah, unplayed, untouched.
Unplayed, untouched, unopened, opened?
No, opened.
Oh,
Oh,
unopened. Okay.
I'm gonna open these things right away. Nothing stays in my collection unopened.
Nice.
Okay, funny story.
Mm.
So I have always wanted to get a copy of Ostia,
Hmm.
which is from Uchibukoya,
Yeah.
game like Euro game with this Mancala um, kind of system, and it looks interesting. I don't know how good it is, but I've always just wanted it for some reason. But I always miss the campaigns. Like they always have these campaigns, like I backed the Sweetlands campaign, for example,
Mhm.
and then sometimes they bring out these other games that you can get a copy of with the current campaign.
Mhm.
But I always missed it, and so I've been
Yeah.
trying to find it, and it's nowhere, right? Because
Yeah.
Uchibukoya doesn't make a lot of copies of their
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
So I was just trawling online to like the second or third page, which generally on Google leads you nowhere, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
But I found a copy new in wrap from this website in Singapore.
Huh.
And I was like, huh, okay, but it's probably bogus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I asked Eunice, who is a former fellow of mine who is from Singapore,
Yeah.
is this website or store or whatever reputable? She's like, oh yeah, it's like the Facebook marketplace in Singapore. So I'm like, oh, sweet. So you mean you could get this game for me and ship it over? She's like, oh yeah, no problem. So literally, I have a
Uh-huh.
copy of Ostia with the pirate expansion,
Mm.
winging its way somehow from Singapore to me. And hopefully I like it. I'm there's a lot of effort for nothing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I have a game coming to me from some
From
dude in
Singapore.
Singapore.
That's so nice. I mean, she was gonna come to Ottawa next year, right? I guess she
Yeah,
wouldn't.
next April.
Yeah, it's not. So she's gonna send it over. Like she'll send it ahead
She
of
says
time.
she's gonna FedEx it.
Yeah, she won't wanna
Yeah. No, that's a long
use
time
it.
away, and it's pretty big.
Yeah, yeah. It's a big room to
So
fight for a
that's
board
kind of
game.
funny.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Yeah.
I pre-ordered the new edition of this game called Innovation by Carl Chudik.
Hmm.
So if you don't know who Carl Chudik is, he is the designer of Glory to Rome,
Hmm.
which is this cult status card game using multi-use cards. And so this is another card game using multi-use cards that has this spirit like Glory to Rome, which is like it's not too difficult to play. There's a lot of player interactivity, sometimes
Yeah.
good, sometimes bad. And this kind of tension building over time, like who's gonna win first.
Mm.
And it looked really interesting, and it was pretty cheap actually. So I just kind of pre-ordered a copy again from 401 Games,
Mhm.
and so I'm looking forward to that because I love Glory to Rome.
Mhm.
And this is like a new edition with like updated card art and stuff. So, which some people argue we need for Glory to Rome, but it's apparently never going to happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's something else that I recently kind of pre-ordered.
Yeah.
And finally, so there's this app called Shop. I don't know, people probably heard of it, but like 401, for example, uses this app as a, I don't know, I guess e-commerce facilitation. I guess that's how you could describe it. Anyway, but the more stuff you buy using this app, you get like little bits of credit, kind of like reward points. And so I actually had enough credit to get a game from 401 that was on sale. So I picked up Fellowship of the Rings, like Lord of the Rings trick taking game,
Mm.
which is like it's like a campaign game. It's like The Crew. So it's a trick taking game where each person is trying to achieve a certain aim with their tricks. And then it's skinned on Lord of the Rings with,
Yeah.
you know, apparently like 18 chapters or something to play through. But it's like the Crew. So I've always wanted to get a copy of the Crew. We played a lot of the Crew online during pandemic with some friends of ours, and it was strangely addictive. Like you just got to keep playing it till you pass this level. Right? It's quite crazy. But I never have bought the Crew because I already kind of played it. So
Mhm.
this will maybe be my new version of the Crew to play with the family.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's my back button sold
Back bought
since
and
last time.
sold. That's like infinitely more than what I have backed, bought, or sold. What I did do, since I am now in the move from this Kingston
Move
apartment back
phase.
to move phase back to Ottawa, and yeah, we are now so we packed up all the board games and now are like I've already actually the board games to some extent took priority, and like during one of the small trips that we did where we basically are trying to bring like all the more breakable, more like quote unquote important things that we don't like want to be damaged like when it's thrown in the truck to be moved. So board games was one part of those that list of stuff that got moved. So now all the board games is basically sitting in back in Ottawa in the townhouse in the basement, just chilling to be opened
It's
again.
just like one more week though.
One more week next week.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So
gosh.
we're definitely well, one thing that I can say, I think last episode we already spoke about how I had ordered a board game table, but
Uh-huh.
it is going to like the timeline for it. I have been told is sometime in July, or July is going to be when he will start making that table, and should be done during that month as well. So because he has a lot
Yeah.
of like woodwork that he is working on. So yeah, that's something that we are looking
Pretty
forward to
sweet.
because July is right around the corner, and yeah,
I'm
can't
really looking
wait.
forward to seeing this table and
Yes.
like playing on it and be the first person to spill a drink on it. I'm really looking forward to that. All right. So let's go to recent games played. There's been a bunch of games. Yeah, it's been a bunch of games. So one of the things that me and my daughter decided to do again was to play through all the Lacerdas again, in
Mhm.
anticipation of by the time that we're done, it will be September and Speakeasy will be out.
Hmm.
So we give ourselves like 3 months, 3 to 4 months to play through all the Lacerdas again, ending with Speakeasy. So that was kind of the point.
Yeah.
Also, we had no new games to play, so let's play the old games.
Yeah.
And so we playing through the Lacerdas all two player. We're starting chronologically. So we started with the first one, which is Vinos. And now last time when we did our Lacerda ranking, that was based on playing Vinos 2016, which is the new deluxe version. So last time we played Vinos for the ranking was 2016 version, which Vital will tell you was the version he made to make Vinos a little bit more approachable.
Yeah.
The 2010 is the version that he likes and the original version. So we played this, and you've always said that you like the 2010 version better.
Yeah.
So the main difference is really the 2010 has this bank
Mhm.
where you can use bank money to do certain things, and you have to try and put money into the bank as well. And you can get little bonus money now and again from investing in yourself in the bank. So this bank, though, and the whole 2010 experience is way tighter than
Yeah.
the 2016. 2016, that's actually kind of easy.
Hmm.
2010 is tight. It's like,
It's
oh my
yeah,
God, I got no
every
money again.
action, money is very tight. Like you're just constantly broke, trying to borrow or like see what
Yeah,
the best way of getting like and getting employees and whatnot, like the specialists and whatnot is
yeah,
it's a bit of a bargain because you could just like you won't like if you get too many, you won't be able to afford them. But if you don't have enough, then it's
Yeah.
not good enough. Like, yeah, it's a very. I think that's why like I do find it to be a like with the bank, it is more like not balanced, but like a you it's it you need to use your brain a little bit more.
So because Vinos has a set number of turns, there's only 12 turns.
Hmm.
Trying to get those experts going with like extra actions is super key.
Yeah.
And if it has that kind of White Castle, like I'm constantly short on doing things I want to do
Mm.
and tough decisions. So I agree. 2010 definitely the way to play Vinos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a great experience actually. So.
Hmm. Yeah.
Then the next game is the Gallerist.
Yeah.
So the Gallerist is a beautiful, not too difficult, flowing game, and it only took us like an hour and a half to play at 2 player. And I just my daughter like kicked my butt. She just wheeled and dealed artwork like some black market like criminal, and I don't know, I couldn't get going, and she was just wrecking me, and I think she won by quite some margin. So she killed me at the Gallerist.
It's all the art that she's doing that she now knows the intricacy of the business as well.
Maybe. I mean, there's a part of the Gallerist where you have to use your influence to raise the fame
Yeah.
of the artist, almost like social media. Like it's like a flavor of
Yeah.
social media. Although this was obviously published well before social media was a big thing,
Mhm.
and so I'm like, maybe that just speaks to her as the new generation. She's like thumb upping all these
Yeah.
artists, and yeah. So she beat me on the Gallerist.
Hmm.
And then the next game is Lisboa,
Yeah.
which I had as fourth on my ranking last time when we ranked, and I think it has moved up to third over Kanban, and it might move up further because we haven't gotten to On Mars or Inventions yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this play of Lisboa, which Vital will say is his favorite game, obviously because of the subject matter,
Yeah.
we really tuned in to the action system and what you're trying to do, and just found it very satisfying.
Mm.
And the little area control kind of thing on the right side of the board where you're rebuilding the stores in the middle of Lisbon
Yeah.
just made way more sense this time with the public buildings and the
Yeah.
stores and how it affects what resources you can get.
Yeah.
Vital will always say this is the simplest game he's ever designed. You just play a card and take the action. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not really quite that simple. He says that probably, hopefully, as a joke,
Yeah.
but it kind of is actually. And then
That
I
is
think
what happens. The
that is
action.
literally,
That is
yeah,
exactly what happens. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the other thing it spoke to us more this time is because now we've been to Lisbon.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was the first time you played it after you had visited.
That's right.
Yeah.
And actually, we've seen sections of walls rebuilt with the rubble in the little X lattice work. And
Yeah.
we've been on those 4 streets.
Oh.
We have, coasters now that are the Portuguese tiles, which the whole
Yeah.
board looks like a Portuguese tile. So
Yeah.
we've been to some of the places that are the public buildings. So it really, I think that's probably a big part of why we really enjoyed it more this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The theme spoke further
Yeah.
than before. Yeah.
The next game is CO2. It is on the table. We have not played it yet, but this is, of course, Vital's slight departure. It's a co-op or semi-co-op game to save the planet from climate change.
Yeah.
And so that is the next one we're gonna
Yeah.
get on with. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's exciting. That's I think CO2. I mean you've been convinced that you won't get another copy of CO2 for the sake of box size, I think.
Yeah, so they came out with the whatever new edition that corrects some of the errors from the
Yeah.
GeoChecks edition,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
makes the box a normal, like Vital Lacerda
Yeah.
size box,
Same size as everything. Yeah.
because the original box is just square.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like that was worth that
Yeah.
much money.
No. Definitely not.
If they had done something else,
Yeah. If they
then maybe I would
made a
have. I probably would have.
different side of the board or different
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, but if it's just like a different box, I'm like. So we played some games of Arc Nova. Actually, we played one of our closest games of Arc Nova where it was literally tied going into the final round. And then just eked out like a 1 or 2 CP here and there to win that game. So Arc Nova 2 player, always the best. So in this time period, you've been here, and this is when we managed to play our game of Galactic Cruise. That seems like forever ago now.
That does feel long ago, at least 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Finally managed to get your first game of Galactic Cruise in.
Yes. Yes, it was a game. It was, I think we, yeah, I like, until the very end, we weren't super sure who was actually going to come ahead.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, yeah, tallying up the points. Definitely, like, I mean, it made it more of an enjoyable experience all the way until the end because we really didn't know who was gonna come ahead at the end. Like it is a bit more of a, like, it's a very forgiving, like Lacerda game, I guess. Or like Lacerda like game. Where
It definitely got Lacerda flavors,
yeah,
right?
Lacerda flavors, but then like it's a bit more point salad in a sense that you kind of, whatever you do, you will be gaining things. Um and yeah, the launch sequence is like, it was much easier than I had initially anticipated for it to be, which is great because that is the whole point of the game. So yeah, no, I really, I had a great play, and I would love to play more of it. And like also like there's like a lot of like yeah, there are we only use the baseboard, so like being able to make those changes and like making it a little bit trickier, I guess, like to like make, yeah, to for the different actions that don't necessarily flow per se, but just
Yeah. Yeah.
making like finding different ways of the yeah, finding the different strategies
Yeah.
in the different board settings would be pretty cool to do.
There's a lot of variability built in because like you can move all the action spaces.
Yeah,
So, while the kind of learner side of the board is basically the ideal setup where two similar actions you commonly would want to do together are together.
together. Yeah,
When it's completely randomized, that
you really
makes
need
things
to.
like
Yeah,
like the
the
cogs and
technology
stuff.
cogs are very, like, the placement becomes very important.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's an interesting game because, like you said, you feel like you're in it until the end as long as you've been launching cruises, right? You're going to tick through your points, 8 points, 10 points, as long
Yeah,
as you've been launching your ships. If you don't launch any cruises, you're going to lose.
yeah,
That is the name of the game.
yeah. That is the name of
Um,
the game. Yeah,
yeah. But as long as you're launching your cruises like everyone else, you'll get relatively similar number of blocks and
yeah,
you'll get the little points here and there. But then the bigger points at the end of the game is, have you been focused on the company
yeah.
goals and things like
Exactly.
that?
Yeah, yeah. How many of the goals you have been able to achieve, and like, yeah, like how, like, what kind of resources or like the objectives you've been able to meet.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to play more of that
Yeah,
once you guys get back.
yeah,
And
definitely.
then we'll do our deep dive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That is to come.
yeah. What else did I play? I played a bunch of Skull
A
King
lot of
with
Skull King.
various groups of people,
Yeah. Mhm.
including you,
Yeah.
residents, and yeah, just a lot of Skull King. It's
Yeah.
such a great game.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shout
one
out
of the
to
funniest things I think we posted on Instagram was how one of our friends, Nadia, uh, basically put
it
number 5 to
was a 4.
4. Oh, it was 4. Okay, 4 with the intention to lose, which is fair because 4 is a long number, and there are pirates. There are a bunch of different cards, but then she ended up winning the trick with a
Yeah.
4.
So she had bid 0, so she doesn't want to
Yeah,
win any tricks,
yeah,
and she had to lead. So she led a 4
yeah,
purple, which is
yeah,
one of the lowest cards in the game.
yeah.
But there are literally 3 lower cards than it.
Mhm.
And we were what, 6 player?
Yeah.
So, and then there's some surrenders,
Yeah,
and then
surrenders, and yeah, there were
it was
different.
just funny.
Yeah, it was such a funny moment where she's like, "How is this real?" Like with a 4, like
Yeah.
how did you not lose this trick?
Yeah, so we played a whole bunch of Skull King with various groups.
Yeah,
Played a game of Glory to Rome, which is always fun. Played some Love Letter. So this was an interesting game. I was playing Love Letter in the resident room with the residents just over a lunch
yeah,
because that's what you do when you're at work. And it was getting down to the end of the game, and I can't remember the exact circumstance, but um, Travis was made to discard his card on the last play of the game
Mm.
by Nadia and the prince. So the prince made him discard his card, and he discarded the card, which was like a king or something. So like he was going to win. And then there was no more deck. So when that happens, you're supposed to pick up the one card that's set aside at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you picked up that card, and it was the princess.
Oh, what are the odds? I guess
Yeah.
120 something, whatever
This kind of thing happens in
yeah.
in Love Letter.
Yeah.
Not too infrequently. Yeah.
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 No, it's a cool game. I feel like there's just enough strategy, just enough randomness for it to be just a great party game and like great game for
So
like a,
we played it with
yeah.
6 people,
Yeah.
and it was so tight.
It was very tight. Yeah.
All players except for
All
me
players.
had 2 of the 3 tokens that they needed.
Yeah.
So literally, it was like next game wins sort of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless
then,
you win,
Yeah.
didn't happen, but yeah.
So might have been the world's longest game of Love Letter too, because it went on for like an hour or something because
Yeah.
everybody
Just
wasn't
kept on
letting
stacking
people
up
win.
points and yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. All right. We are going to talk about inserts today.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a little break and then we'll come back and talk all about it.
Yeah.
All right, we are back.
We're back on another day, recording part 1 and part 2 separate on different days is a strange thing. We need to remember exactly what we said like right before.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is part 2 of the episode where we're going to talk about our topic of today, which is inserts.
Inserts, that's right.
Which
That's
is
like
actually
talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting topic. So by insert, of course, we mean the things that go into the box, inserted into the box, which is supposed to allow you to store your game a bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, Rio, and you can give me your opinion. Is it mandatory for a game to have an insert or just a nice to have?
Oh man.
Like if you were the king of board games and you're like, would you decree that every board game should have an insert?
I would that's a hard question because there are good and bad inserts. So even if there are inserts, sometimes it's like better to almost not have it because it just uses the space very poorly.
Yeah.
So
I guess we should clarify. Some games obviously don't, like if you have a card game that just goes in the box, then obviously, like we're talking kind of games with components, bigger games.
Medium to heavier, that require more components, things.
So, okay, let's skip to my other question then. Do you think that all games can have inserts, or should some games just be baggied, which is the alternative, right?
Right. Yeah. I think most 90% of games can and should have inserts.
Okay.
And I think that's something that I really saw clearly with the Keystone games that have a lot of or is it Keystone or is it another
Keymaster
Keymaster
games?
Yeah, Keymaster games.
Yeah.
That just has incredible inserts and incredible production that is even though it's Parks doesn't necessarily have that many components. Caper doesn't necessarily have that many components, but it's it's molded inserts with everything with everything having its own place to be put away in, and it's such a nice it's just a very well organized package as a board game, and it just adds to the experience when you're taking it out and putting it away.
Can you think of a game off the top of your head where actually it has an insert, but it's kind of a pain in the butt? Like you'd end up just throwing the stuff in anyway?
I was yeah, like one of them that I have is Pandemic Iberia.
Okay.
Um so the inserts like hypothetically make it so that you can put the cards in those like little like dented spots where the cards kind of fit in,
Yeah.
but it's quite a lot of cards, so like it needs to be a very specific way that things are put in or the box just won't work. Like there are too many components for it to fit into the box. So, and with the dented the insert that is in place, you basically have like about like at least a half of that bottom part of the box that is just air. So you're kind of like you could more comfortably fit everything in the box if that insert wasn't there. So the insert is kind of yeah, it just creating a lot of dead space in the box. And
Yeah.
so it almost feels as if it's better like I'm better off taking it out.
So I have a good example of that is Yokohama, which I just bought recently.
Mhm.
The trays that you get with it are really nice,
Mhm.
but it only fills half the box.
Oh
And
yeah.
and there's nothing that fills the other half of the box, so this stuff would just flop around. So which is
Yeah.
weird. I mean, why didn't you make the box half the height? Like it's
Right.
literally half full.
Yeah.
A game like Raw, the new Raw,
Mm.
if it came with an insert, it wouldn't be helpful because the way it is you just get a bag for the money and a giant bag for all the tiles,
Yeah, the
and
big
all the tiles need to go in the bag anyway.
yeah.
So there's no
So
point.
it's not like taking it out and like
Yeah.
putting it in like a specific order or anything.
So
There's
they didn't make an insert for that, which is fine because you just toss it in the bag and that's it. Toss it in the
yeah,
box and that's it.
yeah.
Right. So that's like a game where it doesn't really matter if you have
Mhm.
an insert or not.
Yeah.
Like a game like Quacks of Quedlinburg, it's just a bunch of bags,
Mhm.
and then you can just baggy the components and then toss it in the box, right?
Yeah.
Um, Even a game like SETI
Mm.
probably doesn't need an insert, although there are a lot of bags in that game.
Yeah.
So but if you had to make an insert for it, I feel like you would need a much bigger box.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true. Like I think the one of the biggest sacrifices of having inserts is the box like ends up becoming bigger to accommodate for the inserts that are put in there. Unless you get those foam inserts that kind of just divvies up the box uh
Mhm.
to like fit specific components in specific like compartments of the box, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a whole nother like that business exists and like there are like the insert company that just basically creates inserts for every single box out there.
Yeah. So
But
like game trays, for example, a lot of Kickstarters, if they want deluxe kind of game
right,
trays, and
yeah,
then they'll go to game trays and they'll kind of custom design it for the game, like Galactic Cruise was.
yeah, yeah,
But you're right, like probably you could take all the contents of Galactic Cruise and stuff it in baggies, and it'd be like a box half the size, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's
um,
true. But what I did like what I do like about like the concept of inserts is the ease of just like yeah, taking it out and putting it back in. But what I did end up doing for one of the well, for Scythe is basically kind of DIYing it. So buying my own like tiny Tupperwares and like just plastic like bags and like the little boxes, so to speak, like to that fits within the box. And then every player would have like their own box with all the components and whatnot instead of having a bag. I think it's like there's something nice about not having everything in bags and being able to have the things that you take out every game and everyone would be interacting with more, like in to be in some like somewhat of a solid, I guess, casing or
mhm.
like a container.
So what's if you remember like Wingspan, the original boxing of Wingspan, you
Yeah.
would have all the little food tokens and eggs in baggies, but then it came with little trays that you could
Yeah, yeah,
decant
yeah.
them into,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was interesting.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so that takes us to the next question then. What are the requirements of a good insert?
Requirements for good inserts.
Because we already talked about some cases where inserts actually not that good.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about one, which is what you said. So I think the insert has to facilitate setup and takedown,
Hmm. Yeah.
not make it harder or more work.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So, like I said, if you have to put this stuff away meticulously in the insert, but it's just as easy to just shove it in a bag or something, then that makes it slower.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you, especially if you have to then take it out of the insert and put it into something else.
hmm
Whereas some of the games, like Galactic Cruise, for example,
yeah,
you get the two inserts, one for each side of the table that has all the money in it. It
yeah,
just goes right back in as is. Nothing needs
yeah,
unpacking or packing. And so that really helpful,
yeah,
right? Here's all your pieces in a removable storage container with all your pieces.
yeah. Single
Here's your color.
player.
Here's your color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then like it's a rocket shape for like the thematic side of things as well. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So
Yeah.
here's the compartments for the base game in a box.
Yeah.
Here's the compartments for the first expansion in a box.
Yeah.
Swap the whole box, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a facilitating setup and takedown
Mhm.
to a great degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That is like very important for like especially the bigger, heavier games. Like if yeah, if the inserts are taking away from like like basically if it's adding time to play the game or set up the game or put away the game, then like basically it's not doing its job properly. Um,
so I'll give an example. So the Gallerist, which is
mhm.
one of Vital's
Oh,
earlier games
yeah,
and one of Griffin's first kind of
yeah,
big inserts,
yeah.
is actually makes it harder to set up. It puts
It's
all
yeah,
the artworks together.
yeah.
You just shove in all the tokens into this giant part of the tray, and then you have to separate them all when you take
Yeah,
them out. You
yeah,
might as well just baggy them, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, your
I actually baggy them and put it in there because I
Yeah,
realized that it's such a pain to like separate them afterwards or like yeah,
but if you compare that to the more recent Eco Griffin productions
yeah.
like Inventions,
Mhm,
Weather Machine, even Kanban,
mhm.
now you have a removable tray with your pieces in it that you just take out. Boom, done.
Yeah,
And Weather Machine was really nice. Inventions was really nice. So they've come a long way.
mhm.
Even in the course of just looking at Vital's games, from their earlier games to the more recent games, there's been every insert has been better than the last one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's the first requirement. If you have an insert, it really must make your life easier. Otherwise, there's almost no
yeah,
point. If it makes your life harder, it's like worse.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So the next point is this kind of the same as that. Minimize moving pieces in and out of containers just to put them into other containers.
Mhm,
So yeah, that's kind of the same thing. The next one I put was it has to stop things from moving around.
mhm.
There's no point having things in an insert and then things still flop around. So a good example
It's
of
like
that.
Yokohama with
Yeah,
half
yeah.
an empty
That's an
box. Yeah,
example, right? Like that thing will just flop around anyway,
yeah.
right? Um, Eagle Griffin has really nice ones where they actually put like a piece of plastic that
Oh, yeah,
seals everything in,
yeah, yeah,
which is nice. So yeah, if you're gonna make an insert, at least have it so it stops things moving around.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, this is one definitely. For example, Eco Griffin has gotten better as time goes on, which is make it clear what goes where.
Mhm. Yeah.
I've seen 4 or 5 different ways of packing up Kanban, for example.
Yeah. And I think that was like the first time I got the gallerist because I came like initially I had come from Lisboa and Lisboa has like an instruction of how to pack it up and like things are pretty clear. But then the gallerist, like because it's one of the earlier games, like they didn't necessarily have anything to like yeah tell you where what components should be going in to. So like I think there are definitely games that yeah that like if you make an insert like it like there's hypothetically if you have designed it then you would have had something in mind of where what should be going in like in regards to components.
Well, that's it's been
So
designed with the components in mind,
yeah,
so they
yeah,
should have a
exactly.
plan, right?
So yeah, there should be a plan, and then there should be instructions, or
Yeah.
it should be like so. There's one game where uh, um, the what's it called? The Tenerife, no, not Tenerife Sea, but the one that I ended up hating,
Amalfi,
Amalfi Coast. Yeah, Amalfi.
that's from
So,
Uchibukoya.
yeah, Uchibakuya Amalfi game. where basically they had it literally printed on the box. They kind of made an insert that kind of flowed with the box, and then they're basically it was in like printed within it what kind of cards goes in which compartment and what kind like which compartments goes where and whatnot like was all literally printed on, which is I think a very common thing within Japanese like the designing of Japanese things in general. Like in a rice cooker, oftentimes the instructions are literally like printed in the plastic or in the metal in itself, like so that you would have all the instructions, all the necessary information right there, presented right in front of you at all time. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that like that kind of like basic organization and like just labels to make your life a little bit easier with those inserts is very important to make a good game.
Yeah, yeah. So like, and then like starting with the weather machine, I think, and
Yeah.
then inventions, really like piece of paper, here's where everything goes. You shouldn't have to look that up on BGG, which is
Yeah,
what you
no,
end up
I
doing,
watched. Yeah, I
right?
had to
Or
look for
YouTube.
YouTube videos. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah.
Um, and okay. And all the way to the extremes like Galactic Cruise, where the repacking instructions is thematic. So it's like, here's your IT manual introduction as a new employee, and inside the IT manual is the repacking instructions, right? So
Exactly.
including as opposed to just a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
So
That's
that's
like kind of,
really
I think that's like
next
going
level.
the extra mile. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
next level.
yeah. Okay. The next thing seems really obvious, but the insert should fit in the box.
Do you have
So,
examples of?
yes.
Oh, you do, eh?
I mean,
Okay.
not that the insert doesn't fit in the box, but it makes the game not fit in the box.
Oh no.
So,
Yeah.
Great Western Trail.
Uh,
I think they designed this insert such that it needs to be like factory packed for it to fit again, because it's got baggies and you're supposed to
uh,
put stuff in the baggies,
yeah.
and they don't make the little finger spaces to get stuff
Uh,
out.
no. Yeah.
Um,
So
and
you
oh
literally
man,
kind of dump it all down again, like
you
once.
should be able to have some tolerance of normal people repacking the game that it still closes, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's super annoying. And
Mhm.
then another example is CO2 Second Chance, one of Vital's games. Not a great. It was produced by GeoChicks, not
Mhm.
Eagle Griffin. And so they have an insert and everything goes where it needs to go, but a lot of the tiles are in slots that don't have the little finger holes, so you can't actually grab them.
Oh no. Yeah. That's
And then they use a weak material, so when you try and force it, you end up bending or
breaking.
buckling the insert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
make sure it fits the game in the box. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Well, makes
normal
me
people to pack.
think of like sleeping bags and never being able to
Exactly.
back into the bag after the first time. It's always just gonna have an awkward blob coming out.
Exactly. Okay, and then the final one is if you are planning for expansions, which a lot of games are from the beginning these days, especially like Kickstarter and stuff, but then you should allow for space in the original box. I think that's
Hmm.
nice because nobody wants multiple boxes for a game. Now,
Yeah.
it's not always reasonable to do that if the box ends up crazy huge, but if you can, if your expansion is just like a few extra cards, which sometimes expansions are, right? Just like a few extra goals, or then make space for that. Like
Yeah.
plan ahead.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, another way that like for Wingspan, what they ended up doing is making a bigger box that fits all the boxes.
But now it's not
I
even
guess that's
full.
yeah, right. Even that box is boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's not unreasonable to ask for if you already know there's going to be a bunch of expansions, especially card games,
Mm.
right? Like you got a card game, there's going to be more cards. Like, make some space. Okay. So we already talked about some examples of good inserts that we like. So Galactic Cruise,
Yeah, yeah.
just amazing job with inserts and trays,
By far the best
thematic,
I've ever seen. Yeah.
yeah, thematic repacking instructions,
Mm.
nice box. So we're gonna do an episode on boxes, by the way. But
Yes.
and so yeah, kudos to Kinsenki Games. It's their first game. They got game trays to go all out on it.
Hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful insert and game trays. Okay. We already mentioned the more recent Eagle Griffin games, Lacerda Productions, Inventions,
Hmm.
On Mars, like Weather Machine.
Yeah, Weather Machine was
Really nice. Really nice inserts. Make your life easier. Stuff pull out, in and out. Use them as trays.
yeah,
Repacking instructions.
yeah.
Nice.
Hmm.
Another one that we had before was Septima.
Mm.
So Septima was Mind Clash games, another big box with multi-layer game trays, beautiful inserts,
Hmm.
trays that made your life easier,
Yeah.
repacking instructions. And I think most Mind Clash is like that, although the insert for normal retail Voidfall was not good.
Mm.
That was like a case of try and jam everything into the same slot.
Hmm.
And then we mentioned Uchibakoya games
Yeah.
tend to have nice, meticulous inserts.
Hmm.
And they're well produced. They don't make a lot of games, and so they make the ones they make are nice.
They're very nice. Yeah.
And their games tend to have a lot of meeples, so it's nice to have organization for the meeples. Otherwise, it can get a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go talk about bad inserts. Do you have any bad inserts other than the ones we talked about, like early Eagle Griffin ones?
So, I mean, I hate to critique them because I do love the game, but Spirit Island's inserts are very so-so. And the reason why, like, so there are a lot of components within Spirit Island, and it's like there is an insert, which is nice, but then the insert is like so if you envision like a big plastic tray that has like a single like indent within it. So it's like it ends up being just a lot of like wasted like airspace within the box. And there are like two inserts that it comes with, and it only has like basically the middle part, like one third of it can be used as storage, but then two-thirds of it is just kind of the plastic blob that is just there. And there are a lot of components within Spirit Island. So like it ends up being like very tight, or like it ends up bulging a little bit quite often unless you really know where you're putting every component. So that's one that I can think of off the top of my head right away that I am not a fan of regarding inserts.
I would say if there's a big market for third party inserts to redo the insert that you made, then that's probably bad.
Yeah.
So I have a good example, Nucleum, the base game Nucleum.
Yeah.
So this game came with a do-it-yourself pieces of cardboard to
Oh.
just slot into each other, and not like MDF or thick cardboard, just weedy cardboard sticks to figure out how to put them together
Yeah.
and then try and fit them into the box and then use that as an insert, which is just a bunch of squares. Right. And I'm like, I did this thing. I struggled with it for a while. It kept bending and warping. It doesn't hold the pieces where they need to go. It doesn't tell you which squares go which pieces because it's just a do it yourself cardboard thing. And I'm like, you might as well just give me a bunch of bags. Like, seriously, it's so bad. It didn't stop any of the pieces moving around because none of the walls of these squares are high. It's literally the worst. You might as well just not had it. Like zero effort insert. Almost insulting to give that to somebody. I think that might be the worst situation I've ever encountered with trying to do some kind of insert that just ends up making it worse.
Yeah.
Nucleum. Yeah, really bad. Really bad.
Oh.
My next one is Horizons, Imperium.
Oh, okay.
So Imperium Horizons, the insert is fine for the game, but Horizons came after the other two. There's two other Imperium's boxes, which are smaller. and then they released Horizons.
Mhm.
And and the point about Horizons is it's back compatible. You can play it with all the other factions from the other two boxes,
Mhm.
but they made an insert that doesn't fit those previous two boxes. It doesn't fit all the system in it, which is really short-sighted
Yeah.
because then you have to throw that out and go get somebody to 3D print you an insert that actually fits all the Imperium system in that one big box,
Mhm.
which is what I did. And
Yeah.
so it's like a missed opportunity there. You know you have those previous two games released that is just
Yeah.
cards that
Yeah.
you can consolidate into this one box.
Mhm.
Easy
Yeah.
because the Horizons insert has a ton of extra space. Like all of those cards fit easily into that huge box,
Yeah.
including Future Book. So yeah, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. It
I
was.
would say any game that has like these like just like trough type cardboard inserts, you might as well just not have them. Like it's
Honestly,
just
yeah, no, it's
filling space for no reason and they bend and warp and like it's kind of useless.
so we're gonna talk about boxes as well, I'm assuming, but one of the boxes that I hate that like technically so the Castle of Burgundy does not have
Mhm.
inserts. It's just all bags and it just everything kind of, shifts around. But the box is the flimsiest box that I have. Like it's like very thin cardboard, like that is barely holding itself together. The game is amazing. I think the deluxe edition probably has a thicker box and nicer insert and all that. So I guess
So you're talking about the like original beige version.
beige version, or like even the newer 2019 edition, which is which one the one that I have. And 2019 is like so recent, and like at that point, I think with board game productions and like most people would have like a would use like somewhat of a slightly better material for the boxes especially, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, Castle of Burgundy just
Yeah.
off box.
Yeah. Um, okay. So the final thing we'll talk about for inserts then is there's a large industry
Hmm.
of people who make inserts
Yeah.
for probably any game which doesn't already have an insert, and for lots of games that already have inserts, better inserts. And so, one example of where you can find these things is Etsy. So, people are just making or 3D printing their own stuff. And so you could find inserts on Etsy. It's a little bit expensive and you have to pay shipping and,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of inserts for various games on Etsy, for example.
Yeah.
And then there's a company called Folded Space. I think they're a British company that makes like do it yourself, glue together MDF, high quality MDF inserts
Mhm.
for lots of games.
Yeah.
And they're quote unquote licensed products. So they get the permission from the designer, from the publishers to make inserts for their game.
Mhm.
So, for example, Arc Nova does not have an insert. It would be really helped with an insert that has trays that sets you up your cards and your personal meeples and things, and all the various components that come. There's a lot of components in Arc Nova, and so I've been toying with buying an insert for Arc Nova because it's a game I'm
Yeah.
going to keep, and it would really make setup and takedown easier to have trays instead of like 400 baggies.
Mhm.
So Fold Space has one.
Mhm.
And so if you go to Fold Space, you will see all the inserts that they make for all these various games. And they're a little bit more expensive. And you do have to kind of hot glue them
Yeah.
together yourself. But they're
DIY
pretty good.
project. Yeah.
Yeah. Some stores actually carry some Folded Space inserts, like some local game stores, but it's not that common to find those.
Mhm.
And then finally, you could 3D print your own, I
Oh,
guess. If
yeah.
you had a 3D printer, you just have to find the whatever files are called for them, and you can find those probably on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, BGG. Hell, I've seen a lot of people make those custom ones, and also like even components, custom components that they 3D print
Mhm.
as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, we have a local guy here in Ottawa who has a 3D printer, and he's made me a couple of inserts. I just tell him the game, and he gives me the cost of the ingredients, which is like, I don't know, $4 or something. It's like pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And then you just make it, and then it works. So that's what I did for my Horizons, for example. He made me an insert to fit all the cards from all three games, and it works great. So that's probably most people maybe know somebody who has a 3D printer.
Yeah, nowadays I think it's more common than before.
Yeah,
People do have 3D printers. Yeah.
so that's like a good option. Yeah. So I would agree with you. I think most games should have an insert these days.
These days, I think, yeah, I mean, before when it was very much a luxury thing to have, like, I think that was like, it wasn't an expectation, but nowadays with like a lot of games just coming with it to some extent at default, as a base game, I think the expectations has changed, and like there's slightly higher expectations from the developers to appease the consumers more in this
I
day.
think it's even more if you are doing Kickstarter.
Oh yes, yeah.
Like it's basically, if you're having some kind of a deluxe version, like it's basically mandatory.
Yeah.
And so like, here's a good example recently. So Scholars of the South Tigris, which was at Garfield Games, and of course they do campaigns on Kickstarter, which are basically just kind of pre-order, right? They don't have deluxe versions. Maybe you can buy some metal coins or something, but they don't have different versions. And so Scholars came with an insert, and it was okay, but it's not the best insert in terms of usability. It stores everything properly, but getting things out is like a bit of pain. And then the next game that came out was Inventors of the South Tigris, same kind of campaign, no deluxe version, blah, blah, blah. And that was a game with no insert, which is weird. So it's like, what's going on? It's like, so, and it could use an insert because there's a lot of pieces, right?
Yeah.
So, and what's interesting though is because they want to make all their games the same box size. So maybe for Inventors, they couldn't make an insert without changing the box size, and that would annoy people because then, when you have all your Garfield games lined up, it looks kind of cool, right? Because they have like the same design. Whereas, did you see they leaked today, these new Speakeasy box size is going to be like,
it's going to be
huge,
very big. Yeah, I guess they really wanted to keep the same box size, but then it can't daunt on them how many more components there would be, maybe, or
because I think there's like 400 wooden meeples in it, and so with the insert in the trays, they've had to almost double the height of the box because they need to keep the same width and length. Because that would be super annoying because all the details games fit together, but this one's super tall. So which is, it's going to be big, almost twice the size of the original box. They showed us this picture on the email. So
I think for a good game with good components and make easy to take in and out inserts, like a big box, like I can live with that.
Make space,
make space, for something, especially something as beautiful as like the Speakeasy is going to be just like a beautiful box to start with as well in general, like with the artworks and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was our quick little fly through inserts.
Yep.
And so if you have any really good or really bad inserts, you can let us know. You can email us at 2asians1board@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at 2asians1board. We're well over 1,600 now, Rio, by the way.
Wowee. Yeah.
We're going to do something when we get close to 2,000.
Yeah, 2,000. Some kind of giveaway, some kind of live streaming, something.
Yeah. We've been thinking about that, by the way, people. Maybe using our YouTube channel for something, maybe live games. Now that Rio's going to be back in town.
Yeah. So, being able to do things in person and streaming things in person.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. To be announced sooner or later.
Otherwise, thank you very much, everybody, for listening and following. Please subscribe, leave us a good review,
Yeah.
and we'll catch people at the next episode.
Yes. See you soon.